Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Podcast Strikes Back. My name is George. You're listening to the weekly movie show with the boy Connor.
Hey.
And that's it, man.
And that's it. There's no Ben. We
He's
got rid of
us.
him. We killed him.
Benny is away in Japan, having a great time, I'm sure, eating lots of great food and buying tons of action figures. So it's just you and me this week, man.
Just you and me.
The gruesome twosome.
Yeah.
We got an awesome show. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We got some comments from director Todd Phillips about the upcoming Joker film that's quite interesting. Plus some Spider-Man box office updates and a few trailers, including Mulan. And, of course, question of the week at the end of the episode. But as we always like to do, let's get into what we've been watching. Connor, tell me.
I monstered through the rest of Peaky Blinders.
Oh.
So I finished up season... I don't know if I had spoken about season 2, but I finished up season 3 and 4 as well.
Yeah, I think you just started it.
Yeah.
When you mentioned it a couple of weeks ago.
I'm done Peaky Blinders now. I think the 5th season is about to be released, and
that's the final one, right?
It's the final one.
Yeah.
They're cutting it off, which I think is a really good idea. I was trying to figure out what I really enjoyed about this series so much, and I think one of the key aspects of it is that it's just the format. It's 6 episodes. They're each an hour long, and they covered quite a bit of material across a season.
Okay.
But it's, in 6 hours.
Right.
So it just kind of feels like an extra long movie, or maybe like 2 movies.
I think that's what Chernobyl felt like, the 5-episode format.
It's a good, honestly, for those kinds of shows, I think it's the best and almost the only way to go.
Better than a movie because you're not skimping out details.
Yeah, you
Better
get
than a long-winded 13-episode thing.
You get real character development. You get to run into a little bit more detail than a movie. But you're not. I find that one of the weird things about shows that have like 20 episodes and they're all half an hour long each, like they have that has its space, but it's very much like quick episode. You need a beginning and an end in half an hour and 20 minutes.
Yep.
And then the overall arc kind of feels a little bit more disjointed.
Yes.
And it's very much placed for that kind of that era where you would watch half an hour, once a night, once a week, right? And that makes sense in that, for that format. But if you for today's kind of streaming era, I really love these like little 1 hour long pieces.
Yeah, I
that
also
like come together in a 6.
Yeah, I remember hearing a screenwriter talk about the difference between writing for, an older television 10, 20 years ago format and then the modern day binge format. And like back in the day, you had to kind of have a little few clues at the beginning of the episode to like, get everyone up to speed. Whether it be like previously on, or it would be like some dialogue or something.
Now.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah. Because
you can do that little you can go into the corner and do like a little recap thing.
Yeah.
But that's separate to the episode. That's like its own little entity.
Well, and for me, or not even just for me, it just kind of logically that makes sense because you might just be watching TV and they want you to stay on that channel. They want you to, even if you're not fully caught up on the season, they want you to just watch the episode.
Yep.
And so it's very much episodic. They need to introduce the characters. They need to kind of have a complete story and then wrap it up. And then it doesn't really matter whether you watch next weekend. You want to be, still up to date even if you miss 1, 2, 3, 4 episodes type thing. Whereas you would never do that now.
No.
With Netflix. Like
No
you'd
way.
never just open up a Netflix and then like scroll halfway through a season, unless you're some kind of like masochist, and then just go. Like, unless you're like you. But I love that. It means that, when you're writing, you're thinking about arcs not only over the 1 hour episode or the half an hour episode or whatever it is, but you're also thinking about the arc, across the entire season.
Yeah.
And a really good example of that is Final Space, which I think the 2nd season is now released.
Okay.
But it's not on Netflix.
What?
It's not a Netflix original.
Oh, okay.
So
you just
I think
bought the licensing or whatever.
Yeah, and I think it's produced by what's Conan's company, CNC or somewhere.
Okay.
Something like that. I don't know. Whatever it is. But yeah, like that's a perfect example of something that's meant to be consumed in a little bit more of a kind of consolidated fashion, because there's a clear arc and a clear plan over the entire season.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, I was talking about Peaky Blinders. I am such a fan of this, not only because of the format of it, but also it's not terribly repetitive.
Okay.
And I think they get away with that by there's different settings is one thing that I think they do really well. So the main characters, there's like actual progression. Like they're not just like
in one spot the whole time.
In one spot.
Cool.
There's actual character progression. There's actual kind of, you feel as though you're watching movement, something happen. Like
it's kind of like Breaking Bad, how he's going up the chain, and each season he's kind of further and further deeper into it.
Yeah,
is it kind of
I
like
would still say that Breaking Bad still falls victim to that kind of, it feels a little bit more repetitive, kind of like episodic. Like this episode he deals with this.
Yeah.
Whereas Peaky Blinders,
It's more like an overall arc.
Yeah, you feel like
Cool.
you're kind of watching something over 6 hours.
Nice.
But yeah,
Sounds interesting.
I was very impressed with that. The only other thing that I watched was the Bash Brothers Experience, which is a Lonely Island. It's like a weird kind of music video. Like they released an album on Netflix that has like an accompanying video, but it's like half an hour, 40 minutes long.
And it's just them fucking around being douchebags.
Pretty much.
Hell yeah.
Which I'm a huge fan. I think that's the perfect medium for something like Lonely Island.
They do such good videos.
They
They
do
time
great.
perfectly with the song.
Exactly, right?
It's like the whole package.
I mean, I've listened to a Lonely Island's album, and it's a bit weird because you listen to it like maybe one or two times, and you're like, "Oh, that was funny," and then anything after that, you're like,
Yeah.
"Okay, yeah." Look,
when it
that's
comes on at the
probably not-
club or whatever, you're like, "Oh, I'm on a boat."
I remember this, yeah, like type thing, and they've got maybe one or two songs. But
Yeah.
I think this as a kind of concept is really cool. I think that Tom York, is it Tom?
Tom York from Radiohead.
Yeah, he did one. He's released one. I want to check it out.
Okay. Similar kind of.
Yeah, it's like a
format.
20-minute video accompanying an album that he released.
Yeah, I think he just released a sort of like
So there's a
kind of
Netflix-
electronic. Album.
Yeah, there's a Netflix accompanying video or like video companion piece to that, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
So I want to check that out.
Anima.
But it's
Cool.
that's it.
There you
yeah.
go. June 27th it came out. I must check that out.
It's getting a lot of praise.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I do like his stuff.
it's Tom York, man.
That's all done.
I'm all done.
Hell yeah. So what we had our best and worst of the year so far a couple of weeks ago, and Benny, he likes to be a bit alternative and be
Likes
a
to be
bit
a
off
bit
the
different.
picking track. And,
Hey guys, I've got a list of 5 movies that you haven't seen.
yeah, you don't know exist.
Yeah. That's his criteria, I swear to God.
Yeah,
It's just,
for sure. I love it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only reason he watches these films is because he knows that we haven't seen it. Not because he actually enjoys
of course.
them.
I love it.
Yeah.
I embrace that. And what's fun is like he gives a few tidbits, and I'm like, okay, if Benny's paying attention to this, I'm gonna pay attention to this. And I watched what's the metal one?
Lords of Chaos.
Lords of Chaos. I watched that last week, and then this week I decided to watch Hotel Mumbai.
Okay, yeah.
So this was really interesting for me because Benny's recommendation on Lords of Chaos, I was fully on board. Like I probably liked it more than him.
But Ben made some like pretty serious caveats when he spoke about Hotel Mumbai.
Did he?
Yeah.
Because for me, I was kind of watching this and I was like, this isn't bad. This is interesting, and this is something I should be more aware of. But I just didn't think the presentation was that sophisticated. It did have a few layers with the terrorists and kind of brought a bit more context to their experience as well. But like, it kind of like it didn't. This movie didn't really work for me.
Yeah.
And-
That doesn't surprise me though, because like I said, Ben made some pretty serious caveats about it. Like
What did he say? I
Well, he
can't
said that it
remember
was
off the.
borderline bad taste.
I thought so. I thought so, and I thought that some of the way they dealt with the characters towards the end, I was like, I mean, come on, man. And then some of these characters, like Armie Hammer's character, is like a dead set idiot in this. Like, do not do that when you're in that scenario, man. Like,
Yeah.
So coming off watching something like Chernobyl, which feels to have nuance, sophistication, and not kind of like finger pointing, this one just didn't seem to have that same layers. And ultimately, like, I was kind of like, Benny put this in over Endgame. Like, I'm sorry to be talking shit about you, Benny, when you're not here.
Yeah, when you're not here, man. But no, that's legit. I think that, like, yeah, I would be really interested to see. It'll be interesting when Ben gets back because I have a feeling that he had seen Hotel Mumbai more recently when he made the list, and maybe it was a little bit.
No,
more
I don't
fresh.
think so because it came because I got it on iTunes, so it must have come out in sort of March.
But I don't know when he watched it because he hasn't mentioned.
He saw it in the cinema. I remember.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did. And maybe that was a better experience.
There goes my fucking defense of Ben.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're on your own, Ben. That's a weird choice.
So, I mean, for an Australian movie, it was really solid.
But that shouldn't be the criteria. Great movie for an Australian film.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. I was like watching this film and I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I love Benny. Like, he wants to throw in some other films. Like, that's cool. But like Hotel Mumbai
choice.
over Endgame, I'm sorry. I can't agree with that. So, Benny, we're going to be grilling you when you come back, man. But like I'm
Maybe
glad.
I'll have to watch it now to.
Yeah, I'd be
make
interested
sure
to
I'm
see
up to
your take. And,
scratch.
As I said, not trying to slam Benny here. Lords of Chaos was amazing. This one just didn't make the cut. So the other one I've got to watch out of his list that I missed was If Beale Street Could Talk. I'm really excited to watch that.
That's one that I'm actually really cool or really interested to see.
Yeah. And that's me done. So
Cool.
Let's get into the news. Are you cool with me to take it? Have I got this? I've got this.
No, actually, I think I'll take it.
I made the headline, so I got
So
this.
I'll take it then.
First up,
son
director
of a
Todd Phillips. No, I've got to do this, man.
Yeah,
Director Todd Phillips says Joker doesn't follow anything from the comics. So Todd Phillips has spoken with Empire, and he's basically said here that along with screenwriter Scott Silver, that they've ignored the comics when writing the story. And here's a quote from the man himself. We didn't follow anything from the comic books, which people are going to be mad about. We just wrote our own version of where a guy like the Joker might come in. That's what was interesting to me. We're not even doing Joker, but the story of becoming Joker. It's about this man. Really interesting. And I think it dovetails perfectly into in the film that was presented in that first trailer. Like, it doesn't look like a comic book heavy, reference heavy, Easter egg heavy piece. And then the article went on to say that the filmmaker initially went to Warner Brothers in his initial pitch with the idea of making a movie about the Joker in the vein of Taxi Driver. No expectations, no franchise setup, just a unique twist on an iconic character. I like that, man. I think that's really cool.
I'm super torn about this movie. I have been since it got announced. I'm a bit of a kind of like a flip of a coin on this one. On some level, I do like the concept of just
the sort of detached,
just taking the IP, like just the very general character, and then creating something completely new with that character. Which, I mean, how off the vein of the comic books is that? What am I trying to say? Look, the Dark Knight Joker. Did that really follow any comic book that you're aware of?
Yes, I think it followed.
And like how many? My thing is like how many versions
took influence?
But that's the thing. Like how many versions of the comic book character are there? And how many? I don't know. I don't even know how to comment on this. I'm so torn by this film. Like I just think part of me is like I don't want to see another Joker film. I'm like the character is done to death. I watched a little bit of the Batman in Japan one.
Oh yeah.
Batman Ninja Batman.
Batman Ninja, yeah.
Whichever one it's called. And I was like, oh, it's cool that they're revealing the Joker in a different style. But at the back of my head, I was kind of like, how out of ideas are they if like, they're just, we'll put them in a different, culture setting or something like that. And you're kind of like, all right.
Yeah. It all comes down to execution.
Let's maybe give this character a bit of a rest, because it feels like I'm just being beaten on the head with this character.
No, I can understand that. But what I think is that,
that was the most incoherent, by the way. That was like
I think
a full minute of me going,
describes of how you're kind of into this concept in some regards, but on another level you're not.
I don't want to just full slam it. I don't want to just say like, nah, it's shit. Because I think that there's some like genuinely good, like, Todd Phillips doing a Joker film where he's, able to do his own little thing. I love that concept in general. But, at what point do you just go, do you really need it to be a Joker film?
Yeah, well,
you could just make a film that's in the vein of Taxi Driver.
That's the thing. And so the only level of cynicism that comes to me with this is exactly what you said there. Like, has he just written a crime movie and gone, fuck, I need to get some kind of IP in there because it's 2000 and...
I'm not going to make any money if I don't.
Exactly.
If it's not a superhero film.
So are they just sandwiching in there are they just sandwiching in this Joker character, this Joker IP, with a level of cynicism that, if he's not referencing anything in the comics, like, then is this the Joker? Like, what is this? But from another perspective, I'm like, I'm glad that he's detaching from the Joker. We've seen the Joker, as you've said.
But he's not detaching from the Joker, because, I mean, the Joker is just like, he's not using, character.
He's not using any comic book as a template. And he's saying, hey, listen, I've seen the Heath Ledger Joker. I've seen the Jack Nicholson Joker. I've seen this. I've seen that. I'm going to do my version of it. I think that's kind of exciting. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But there's only so many possibilities in terms of versions now. Like, you can only go so gritty or you can only go so wacky. Like, I mean, and that's kind of my thing. I would have rather Todd Phillips done something kind of just completely different.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm weirded out by that.
Yeah. I'm really excited, and these comments only made me more excited for the film. And then also the taxi driver element there, that was just, I love that film, so that just really gave me
kind of cements it for you.
Yeah, it kind of cements it for me, exactly.
Well, we'll see how we go.
Yep. Next up, we have some Spider-Man updates. We have an opening weekend from Spider-Man Far From Home, bringing in $185 million at the box office, which is a really strong opening. And if we pull up the worldwide here, and the thing here with this one is that it had an extra long opening weekend. It opened on the Monday or the Tuesday. Remember, we saw it on the Monday, so they've had an extra long, runtime there. Plus, I'm just trying to get this worldwide haul up. I don't know why this isn't working, but it made over 500 million globally. And to compare that to Captain Marvel, which made 450 million globally. So Spider-Man Far From Home has done really, really well in its opening week.
Yeah. And it's not like, I'm kind of a little bit surprised, because I feel like a lot of the fan base would have probably, in my head, been like, okay, the saga is over. Avengers was Avengers Endgame was the close to that. We're going to take a little bit of a break from Marvel. And Marvel's just kind of gone like, you fucking what?
Yeah.
And put Spider-Man relatively close afterwards.
Yeah.
And that was a horrible strategy for Ant-Man. That failed miserably.
Smaller film though, smaller in scope.
Is it though? Ant-Man was
Ant-Man 1.
Yeah, that was kind of the, Ant-Man 1, no, I mean 2.
Oh, Ant-Man
2 came like directly after Infinity War.
Yes.
So I mean, sorry, I'll clarify. Ant-Man 2.
Yeah.
That was a horrible strategy for that, because it came straight after Infinity War. People were just coming off the hype of that, and then Marvel was like, "Here, have another one," and everyone's like, "Eh."
Yeah, inconsequential.
Yeah. It didn't help that was not a great Marvel film.
Totally.
Probably one, if I had to put it in a big ranking, probably one of the worst.
One of the weakest for sure.
But I just that kind of surprised me that it's done that well. I mean, And that is not speaking to the quality of the film. That's not speaking to the popularity of Spider-Man. That's just saying it's a smaller film that is being released pretty much straight after a film that is kind of a finale. And I wonder, honestly, how much of that had to do with Feige going out and really selling this as the real ending to Phase 3.
Yeah, and like how much of that is actually accurate, Part of me is like, Feige knows how to play the game. Was it really the end of Phase 3? We'll see. But like, there was definitely some things where there was definitive endings, and like they reference certain things that happen in Endgame and Infinity War. But like, is that it? I don't know. Like, I'm sure like it's going to keep. I don't want to say any spoilers or anything, but yeah, from my perspective, I was expecting this to do worse, not as well as Captain Marvel, and I completely agree with all your sentiments. We've also got a few spoiler things from the film itself that the director, John Watts, has referenced. So, guys, if you haven't seen Far From Home, just skip on ahead and come back when you've seen the film. But one of the things he referenced here is
skip like a minute.
The final twist after the credits.
Yeah.
And the twist was the fact that Nick Fury and Maria aren't actually, in fact, who they are. They're Skrulls. They're Talos and Soren, set from the 90s, the 90s prequel, Captain Marvel. So the reference here is that, I'll just read his quote here. We had talked about including it as a body of the movie, but it made more sense to be the very last little con in this movie about con men. Just one last little reversal. And when we went back and forth as to whether or not we really wanted to do that or not, because it's such a crazy twist that makes you watch everything again, because once you realize that Nick and Maria aren't actually who they are, you can enjoy the movie in a completely different, weird way. Everything they say takes on a different meaning when you realize they're not actually who they say they are. So I'm keen to kind of watch this again and have that in mind. Like I thought that twist was really interesting and threw me for a bit of curve. I was like, how long have they been inhabiting those bodies? Like, how long has this been going on? How long has Nick Fury been hanging out with the Skrulls? Like, I want to know more about this. I thought it was a very interesting move, and it's interesting to hear that they were potentially going to put it like maybe a midway reveal in the film, and they did it right at the end. So you go, oh fuck, I got to go watch that again and look at how they've been portrayed.
To be honest, I think that would have been a bit too distracting.
I think so as well.
But I
like the way they've done it.
Let's move on because we, obviously people are going to be coming back.
But what did you think that was?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Cool.
I think they played it well, but they're the directors, not me.
And then we've also got the final part where, J.K. Simmons turned up at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. And the really interesting part here is whether or not this means there's a multiverse of sorts where the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies exist.
It doesn't.
So they've
pretty much confirmed.
Listen to this. Watts wouldn't confirm or deny their existence. So this is from the director.
Feige has, though, hasn't he?
Definitely, it raises some interesting questions. I don't know that I have the answers for them just yet, but yeah, it does open up some strange possibilities by having him be the same person. Blah, 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 blah. Not really allowed to say, but I would say that all options are on the table. That's how I like to think of it. So,
look, I don't think that. No, I don't buy that it's a multiverse like that.
And Tom Holland has also said that he'd love to do a movie with Andrew Garfield.
And Feige has shut that down.
Did he?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he did. Someone did.
Are you saying that just because you're saying that?
I read something. Don't ask me to specifically quote where I read it.
Quote that shit. I don't think I would love to see Andrew Garfield back, but to see,
I would not. No. Don't just they're a different thing. Don't bring them in.
I just love the Tobey Maguire ones. Man.
No. I like the Tobey Maguire ones, but don't fuck with that. Like this was a weird and cool and interesting thing to do, but I don't need anything more than that.
But I think what's interesting about your perspective is like what we were just talking about Joker, and like what you love is like, I don't actually, you know what I think it is. It's like, what's the intent? So like, the intent of Marvel is it to be this really integrated singular universe.
Yeah.
And DC, they were going for that, and now they're sort of going against that. And direct and
I'm not
Joker.
entirely sure what DC is trying to do, but
neither. And Joker is kind of, saying there's no continuity, there's no anything. And
my thing is pick a different character. My thing is not whether it's like, I mean, that was one of the issues that I raised about the intent. Like, are you trying to make a continuous universe, or are you trying to fuck about with,
pick one or the other?
But this, like, my other issue with the Joker was just that, like, pick a different character. Like, I don't care if you want to go do stuff outside of continuity, as long as that's kind of your intent overall. But don't do the Joker again, because it's such a, fucking, do something interesting. Take an actual risk. Like, this is such a, he's going like, oh, we're not following the comic book. Like, fucking la-di-da. Like, it's such a nothing to me. Like, if you want to take a risk, if you want to do something interesting, grab a character that no one knows about, or that, no one has any interest in the DC universe, and try and do something with them. I mean, at the very least, that's what Aquaman did. Aquaman is like a joke. And they were like, fuck it, we're going to run with that joke. We're going to do something interesting with Aquaman.
And here comes the trench.
Yeah. Love it or hate it, they took a risk on that.
Yeah, for sure. So Spider-Man's killing it. The MCU rolls on. Let's move swiftly into story 3, which we've got some updates on the Little Mermaid.
Live action.
Yeah, casting for Ariel has been confirmed in the form of Halle Baily.
Halle Baily, not Halle Berry.
Which everyone was freaked out about when this dropped.
Among other things, yeah.
This is really cool. Like diversifying the cast, bringing in something different. We'll talk about Mulan later, but I think the overall sentiment that we've had on this podcast is like, don't just one for one remake the cartoon. Like Lion King, we're all feeling a bit nervous about that because it just looks like a clone.
So
and what this is, I hope that they're doing something different here.
Look, I agree with that. I don't know that changing the race of a character is what I would qualify as really changing anything.
I think
that's
it's
a
like
bit of a non-consequential piece to me.
But it's like okay,
one way or the
what
other.
is it goes back like why is Ariel this race in the 90s one? Well, because there's that's just the way it was. Like there was just a vast.
No, it was because the
majority of the market coming is probably.
Well, the story
race.
is also from, what is it, Finland, or it's some kind of Nordic country.
Okay, is it?
That's just,
is it
like, I
based
mean,
off
the original is like,
Right.
I'm pretty sure she's
It's like a
described
fairy
as
tale,
white and blue eyes. Which, I mean, and again, I think that they have complete creative license to go and do whatever they want in the retelling. That to me doesn't make them particularly edgy or progressive or something like that. When I first heard the announcement, and I'm just super cynical with this kind of shit. When I didn't know who it was, I just saw that they've announced the new casting for Ariel, and I was like, as I was about to click it, I was kind of had a little joke to myself. I'm like, I'll say it's like 80% sure that it's going to be kind of Asian or black or something that's they've just changed the race. And I had a chuckle when I saw that. It's like, that's exactly what they've done. And in my mind, that's just a cynical way.
Is it cynical? Is it like
I'm being cynical.
You're being cynical.
Because I think that the studio has done that and then be like, all right, well we've hit our quota for we've done our progressive thing for the day, and then in my mind, like it doesn't really mean anything because it holds zero. It doesn't affect me at all what race she is. Like I could care less. So the entire thing just I feel super cynical about it.
For me, I think it's awesome. I think it's just like super inclusive, and it's nice to see Disney doing something a bit different.
I mean, they're not doing anything particularly different. Though.
Well,
That's
they
the
are
thing.
because there's been fucking white people on screen and in movies. I mean, look at that poster behind you.
No.
Look at that poster behind you.
I agree with that.
Look at that.
I agree with that. But that's an industry trend, and that's I look at it very cynically, and I look. I don't want to jump into that.
Yeah.
The what I'm more interested in is is she going to be a good fit for it? She's relative unknown. I think the only thing I know her from is she was signed to Beyonce's label, I think.
Okay.
So I can assume that she's got a really good voice.
Yep.
I think we can make that assumption, but I don't think she has any. I had a quick look before. She doesn't have any acting credit, so I quite like when they bring in someone fresh face that doesn't have that. I mean, it's always a bit more of a risk, in terms of you don't really know whether they can act or not.
But in this kind of film, like you're using the IP and that title and that nostalgia.
That's what's going to get bums in seats. That doesn't mean that the actor's going to be any good or the direction's going to be good.
But you can afford to maybe not get you can afford to kind of not make
the risk,
pay the main lead. Fucking several $1 million. You can pay them $100,000 and come on.
I always really liked that.
Like Daisy Ridley, for example, they got peanuts for The Force Awakens.
Oh, yeah,
it was 100. In terms of Hollywood salaries, I think they got 100,000, and the next one was millions.
If you can find an actor that's good and is relatively fresh faced, they're not going to say no to Star Wars. You could pay them in just fucking literal peanuts. And they'd be like, fucking yes,
there's 100,000 peanuts.
Yeah, exactly, because they know that on the next film they're going to get bank and or even the offers post that, because I know that Daisy Ridley has already done a bunch of other films that she's in, which is really cool. So yeah, look, I'm being cynical about this casting, but not for
I don't think
reasons,
we've ever had one of these come out and you've been like, that's the studio doing some old bullshit,
I'm very cynical about why studios cast.
But it seems to be only in that kind of scenario. It's not like, Leonardo DiCaprio, fuck Leonardo DiCaprio, is just another fucking guy. It's just interesting. It's just interesting.
I think. Well, I'll give you an example of something fairly cynical. They cast. What's that one that Christian Bale was cast in? Which is the kind of reverse of this. He's meant to be Moses, a Middle Eastern
wasn't it called Moses or something?
No, I thought it was
what's those Gods of Egypt, but that's not it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. God of War or something, but that's not it either.
Anyway, continue.
It doesn't matter. Look,
Moses.
That's a weird vein that I don't have an answer for.
Moses Ridley Scott, Exodus, Gods and Kings.
Gods and Kings. That's why I was thinking gods. Yeah. Fucking. That's such a cynical casting because it's the exact opposite of this situation. It's just okay, we'll go against that that kind of progressive thing, but because we need someone that's a big name, and how many big names are there that are also Middle Eastern? I mean, I can barely name. I could probably not even name one that's properly Middle Eastern. At the moment, Rami Malek is he's Egyptian. The guy that pops into my head, I can't even remember his name. He's from he had a half a season in Peaky Blinders, but I'm pretty sure he's actually British.
Okay.
So yeah, that I think about that very cynically.
Yeah, and I think that's actually getting phased out more and more, and the former is becoming more.
That kind of casting popular. Is. I understand why that casting. I understand
you're leveraging an awareness.
But that's
or
more ridiculous than this. For the people that are complaining about, it's a Nordic tale and she's meant to be white because that's the original story. That's a ridiculous argument. It's a fictional character that's a fish. You can make her whatever the fuck color you want. It doesn't matter. That and then those same people turn around and try and justify why Christian Bale should be Moses, and you're like, come on. Come on.
Get off it, son. All right. Story number 4. Our favorite franchise, Saw. We have some news updates.
Do not say your favorite franchise.
Samuel L. Jackson, of all people, is joining the cast to play the father of Chris Rock's character in the new Saw spinoff. So for those who are unaware or don't remember, we talked about this a few months ago. So it was announced in May that the horror franchise was getting a spinoff based off an original idea by Chris Rock, who would also star and produce the film. This is turning out to be really, really crazy, man, because I've always been a Saw fan. I've only seen each one once. We would go every October to the cinema and pump them out. Well, 2003 to about 2009, 2010. And then I haven't even watched the new one, Jigsaw, but I've got a little bit of a soft spot for this franchise, and I'm really keen to see someone kind of take what they've done, which is a little bit kind of schlocky MTV kind of popcorn horror, and just inject something new into it. And I feel like it's going to have a bit more of a tongue-in-cheek vibe that Chris Rock is bringing into it.
Tongue-in-cheek? Like, Saw got pretty tongue-in-cheek.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Literally.
Yeah, but it got completely ridiculous. But I feel like Chris Rock can bring something. Listen, it's interesting. I'm not saying it's going to work, but I think it's an interesting combination.
It definitely is. I am not. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the Saw franchise. I think I watched the first two.
Mm-hmm.
First one was sort of interesting.
Yeah, more of a thriller.
I got the concept. The concept was all right and all that kind of stuff. But everything beyond that was just gore porn, and that's never really gore porn that is like hyper realistic has never interested me. Stuff that like old schlocky horrors I love, but that's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Tarantino. Yeah. That level of kind of gore violence, that's
like that hyper realistic.
Yeah. But the hyper realistic where you're like, oh, look at them, they look like they're actually in pain. I'm like, fuck, I don't like.
Yeah.
It's such a fine line.
It's pretty
for
cold.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Saw 3, man, the final death in that one being in the cinema. I felt like cold and empty. I was like, wow, that's a
And that was
bummer.
the same thing. What was that?
That's a bummer.
What was that one that Hostel was around the same time?
See, Hostel was a lot more brutal and didn't have that same kind of like wink to the camera that I felt like Saw did.
That's the only saving grace that I will give to Saw, particularly in the later ones, which I actually like far less, oddly enough. But it kind of got to the point where they were like, this is just silly.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, like I get why you're doing this, but it doesn't hold any interest for me. But Hostel, like they were taking pride in, how fucked up while still being realistic they could get. And I was like,
it doesn't do much for me, man. Like, like the whole like flamethrower to the face and shit. I'm like, but with Saw, like they're like doing all these weird traps, and it's got like this 9 Inch Nails-y grunginess to it. Like, so it just works for me.
It's super interesting because
the production design and the look of it always appealed to me.
I mean, like horror, like comedy. And I always make the comparisons with those two genres. There's such a kind of, if you try and do something interesting or you try and do something extreme, you have to nail it just perfectly. Otherwise, it's like if a joke is a bit edgy, if it's funny, you're in the clear. But if it's not funny, you're just a dick. And it's the same thing with horror. Like if you're going to do something, pretty intense, you got to get it just right. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just being disgusting.
Yeah.
And there's no purpose to it. So, look, if they can bring that level of interest, that it's not just about, hey, how gruesome can we be? Then I'm 100% there. I'm on board.
I'm really intrigued with how this is going to turn out. And most likely 2020 October release date. Saw really loves that October release date. They'll probably stick with that.
Halloween, man.
That's it.
People are in the mood.
Final story of the day.
This is really interesting.
This is a really interesting one, and I think something that you and I will love to talk about. So Netflix are reportedly looking to be more picky about extensive projects. Now, this has been refuted, but the original article from a publication called The Information says that Netflix chief Ted Sarandos told several of his high-ranking TV and film executives in early June that the company needed to be more picky with its spending on big-budget productions, focusing on projects that will bring in large numbers of viewers instead of justifying high price tag with only a critical acclaim. Now, they have directly refuted this. A spokesman from Netflix has said there's been no change to our content budgets, nor any big shifts in the sorts of projects we're investing in or the way we've greenlit them. And it seems as though that Triple Frontier in this article was an example of a recent misfire. However, once again, Netflix refuting this, saying that 63 million households have watched the movie, which is a good result for them. So this is really interesting.
For anyone, really.
100%. But this is really interesting in terms of like, number one, how does Netflix determine whether something's successful or a failure? You know, what sort of metrics and you know, in this article they sort of talk about, they're still figuring it out. Still trying to figure out how to judge our movies.
This sounds like almost wishful thinking on some people's part, because I think that Netflix seems to have had the strategy in the past, which is just let's gonna pump out content, and they're gonna do films that are pretty ambitious, but they're also gonna do films that they would know are just dog shit.
Teeny films for older people.
Yeah, they've just
for 20
they are
something
saturating the market with just Netflix, and you know. I've heard, you know, particularly Ben has made some, which is slamming him while he's not here, made comments about like, oh, it's a Netflix film. It's you know, with the insinuation that it's not going to be very good.
Love you, Benny.
So I can see how people would be like, oh, I think that Netflix should be a little bit more discerning. Having said that, I think it works. Well, I think it's more important for Netflix to be producing content than particularly good content.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's kind of like there's kind of like a bit of I feel like they're just doing testing, right? They're like, where are we collecting the views?
Yeah.
Where is Netflix's pocket of viewers? And like, let's like now 2 years later, we know that this, you know, horror's done really well, comedy's done great. This hasn't done so well. Let's produce more horror and comedy as a crude example.
Yeah.
But it's a part of the strategy, and they need to build data and they need to build insights, and this is kind of them failing fast. It's like hit it, you know, fucking spray the wall and see what hits.
Yeah.
And I think it's fucking fascinating, man. Actually, you know what? As a little tidbit the other day, I put on our first ever podcast and I listened through to it.
We talked about Netflix quite a bit back then.
We talked about it a lot, and we were sort of saying like, oh, Netflix, it's up and coming. And like by 2020, I actually say in 2020, Netflix will be a force. You know, this is 2017. This is April 2017.
They were already quite a force then.
It's crazy how much it's changed and how much more of a force. It's like, even just in the tone that we're presenting, like Netflix was not at that level that it is now. And it's pretty cool to see how far they've come as a company. You know, they've really claimed that. And now all of the competitors are coming in, Disney Plus and whatnot. But they've done a fucking amazing job, I feel.
They're like the Uber of streamers. Like they were in there first. They've got the market share for it.
They're still not profitable.
Yeah. I mean, like, you can't grow at that size and be profitable.
For like 10, 20 years, right? Like Spotify isn't profitable. Uber isn't profitable.
So many fucking tech companies are non-profitable. They grow because they put...
And their valuation's huge.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, it's just because they chuck everything into like growing. Yeah, and it makes sense, right?
Yeah, it certainly does.
Yeah.
What's that time?
It's trailer time.
Oh, shit.
So first on our list of trailers, only for this week, we have Mulan, the teaser trailer dropped for this. I don't know what it was. I just did not expect to see any footage from this soon. And it kind of feels like my initial, before I actually watched the trailer, my initial thought about this was that this is too much. I feel like I've just watched Aladdin.
Right, okay.
You know, Lion
King's on the way.
Already be getting a trailer for this is kind of like, this
so
is
you're a bit,
too much.
You're a bit fatigued.
I'm gassing out on the Disney live action
shit.
ones, man. Like, it's just, I feel kind of like Disney's being a bit too aggressive now, particularly if I think about all the different, like, I think they can kind of get away with it because Disney is Marvel, and like kind of Marvel markets as its own thing, and then like the live actions are its own thing, and Pixar is its own thing, but it's all Disney. I'm kind of feeling like, just back up a little bit. This is getting very aggressive. I'm feeling kind of uncomfortable now.
You're intruding on my personal space.
Honestly, and it's fuck, man. Like, it feels like that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being force fed content.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. Help! But I watched the trailer and it was good.
Yeah.
So fuck.
So shut your fucking noise.
So I'll just shut up and I'll be over here if you need me.
This is fucking good, man. Like, I am like if you compare my reaction to the Aladdin trailer to this, it's chalk and cheese.
Miles
Like,
difference.
this is what I want to see in these live actions. I feel like this is what I want. I want something like a more real, sophisticated, tangible, different take, and I can still watch the original and watch this one, and they're different experiences. I just thought that like it's like felt a lot more like a war film. It felt more like.
Look, I think this on a concept level is doing everything that we have said the live actions should do. Pretty much every live action I've seen, the biggest failing or the most boring parts or the most kind of uncomfortable parts have always been when they go back original, and they remake the original. And that to me is a bit like, even just in the style of it, you're like, I don't really need that.
Yeah.
I've got the original. I can go watch it.
Yeah.
Like, it's good. Like, I love animation. Like, I'll just watch that. It's far better. And so when Mulan, when they first announced it and they said that there's not going to be any singing, like it's going to be just a straight film, I was kind of like, cool, right? Cool. We don't have to worry about them fucking up, songs.
Adding in a new song
or changing.
Speechless.
You liked that song.
I love that song.
So that was a plus for me. I like the director.
Yeah.
It felt Kiwi, representing ANZ. The Australians will inevitably.
Oh, yeah, we'll claim that.
Claim it.
We'll claim Oceania.
Yeah, and I love the look and feel of this film. Like, based off the trailer, it feels like those kind of you can tell that there is some pretty serious Chinese influence in on this, not just because it's set in China, but
thanks for that, man.
No, but just because of the style of filmmaking. Like, I love all those old wire martial arts films.
It's got that Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of vibe.
A little bit in that kind of. There's a couple of scenes in that where you're like, oh, okay, this is gonna be a little bit more stylistic. They're gonna do something interesting with it. Like, that makes me really excited. They're gonna give it a bit of a visual flair. That honestly, that for me is like, this is how you have to do it. Make it interesting. Make it different than the original. Make it, just don't do. It's not Mufasa. Is it Mufasa?
The dad in
the dragon?
In Mulan.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Mulan's not one that I saw a lot when I was a kid.
Really?
That was Eddie Murphy's character, right?
Yeah.
Killing me now. I don't think he's in this.
Mushu.
I don't think he's in.
But that's what I'm saying. Have the balls to just be like, nah, we're not having Mushu.
Gone.
Like, we're gonna focus on characters.
Yep.
We're gonna give it some action. Like,
make it more of a war film.
I reckon that is the best way to go. Because if I just want to watch Mulan, I'll just watch Mulan.
Yeah.
Like, I'll watch the original, and I will be happy to do it because I fucking love that film. I'm good. So yeah.
I can't tell you how impressed I am with this. Yeah. I was honestly dreading watching this when it got announced, and I was like, holy
this is
fuck.
Everything. This
doesn't look like a Disney movie
that Lion King isn't so far.
Exactly.
I'm really pumped for this. I think this is
2020, really cool. Baby.
Yeah. All right. Next, I just chucked away from my.
We got a really weird one up next.
Yeah, this is bizarre.
This dropped a few weeks ago.
Netflix produced. It's called Frankenstein's Monsters. It's got David Harbour.
It's Frankenstein's Monsters.
Frankenstein's Monsters. Monster Frankenstein.
Wait. Yes, Frankenstein's Monsters. Monster Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Which I honestly, if you watch the trailer for this,
it's a mockumentary kind of thing, but it's
trippy. You wouldn't have like. There's no. I'm just trying to think. Like, if you look What We Do in the Shadows, it's a mockumentary. It's clear what's happening. Like, even in the trailer, you're like, okay, I get what the style of this is. Like, I get what the joke is. I understand what I was trying to do. This one, I'm like, I don't get how this is going to mesh together.
We've got kind of a story within a story. We've got David Harbour playing his dad and himself.
It's also a play, like a stage production. Like, I don't know what it's so many mediums that are hugely unique. Like, how many Like they're doing both stage production, but also mixing it with documentary and a couple of other things. It's a really interesting kind of melding of genres and styles, and you know
also
what?
meta referencing Stranger Things in there. Like it's very, very different.
So for me, I'm kind of on board with that experimentation, largely because of American Animals. Is that what it's called? American Animals, which took that kind of documentary / they kind of melded genres, styles, and that was a huge success as far as I'm concerned. I fucking love that film. It was one of my favorite films from last year. So I'm really on board with the whole experiment of let's mix and match mediums, or it's not really mixing mediums, sort of, kind of. But styles and
put it in a
genres
blender, blend it up,
get
some of that harbor smoothie going.
If you've got someone that can kind of pull that off and make it coherent, then fuck, I am so on board.
I think what I really took from this was, we see so many trailers, we know so much about the films. I talked about this recently with Parasite, how refreshing it was going in, not really knowing what the final product was going to be. I feel like with this, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going into. And that actually heightens my intrigue. Yeah. Like not laying it all out for me, being like the Disney style, like, this is what the film's going to be. Like, it's like, I don't know what this is going to be, and I might go investigate that because you piqued my interest.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for this. When's this? 16th of June.
Weirdly interested for this. That's past. Saying it's out already?
16th of July, sorry. It's a different month. That's a different month, George.
We are really late to the party.
Maybe 20 hours ago. Okay, so maybe this didn't come up. I thought this came out a few weeks ago, but
no, I'm pretty sure it's
8th of July. Cool. So this is coming out. Come on, article 16th of July.
16th of July. Yeah. Netflix, they have some weird release schedules. Yeah, Veronica Mars, not Veronica Mars. The Marvels, Veronica.
Oh, Jessica Jones.
Veronica Mars. Jessica Jones. That's out. Season 3 is out.
Yeah.
I was like, what the?
I was scrolling through and I was like, I used to love that show.
And then passed it.
Yeah.
Like, not today. I haven't caught up on. I've got Punisher and Jessica Jones to go.
That ship has sailed for me, man. It's a good run. It's a real good run.
Third, we have Judy. Fourth, we have Judy is
Renee Zellweger playing Judy Garland.
Judy Garland, another little biopic about a famous musician. I'm sure this will be great.
Yeah, we're gonna get fucking 40 of these over the next. We're gonna get
we've
basically
been getting these for ages.
1 to 2 a quarter. I guarantee you, and it's probably gonna increase.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting character, a very interesting person. Prolific Wizard of Oz, prolific actor, seminal, iconic. But I don't know, man. There's just nothing of it. Like, it looked like she was
interested in this.
Really washed up, really almost like, this is quite a strong word to use, but almost like a pathetic portrayal in a way. And I didn't really like that.
It seems far more dramatic, and kind of not melancholy, but
seems pretty dour. It
sad.
Seems pretty,
But and the only thing that kind of sparks my interest is I'm really interested with what Renee Zellweger has been doing in the last couple of years. Like, I think she's choosing some really interesting projects.
She's got a lot of face work. Have you seen how different she looks?
I don't. I was reading something. I don't think is it face work that she's done. I thought that
Who knows? But she looks like very different 10 years ago.
She does look very different. But I mean, that's that doesn't bother me.
No, it doesn't bother me. It's just interesting.
I can't believe that you'd comment on her looks. That's terrible.
Well, I just thought she was always she was very pretty, and I'm like, why do that? Anyway, listen, each to their own. We're not going to comment on people's fucking cosmetic surgery. Let's move on. You've already done that, sir.
You've done that to yourself.
My bad.
No, man. I think it's really interesting, the projects that she's choosing. She seemed to disappear off the map for a little bit there. And she I'm not sure what's happened, but she's decided to come back with the
And she looks like she's transformed for this. Like she doesn't look like Renee Zellweger. There's
Yeah,
only certain
this is the-
angles where you
this
can
is-
see, like in her eyes. Oh yeah, that's her.
This
but
is the most different that she's looked.
she looks real. They've done an amazing job with her transformation.
Yeah. But having said that, that's the only thing that has sparked any interest, and it's certainly not enough interest for me to go and actually see this
Yeah,
film.
I think if you're a fan of Judy Garland, this will probably be
Even
of
then.
some interest.
Even then, I'm
But
so
disdain in your face.
I'm honestly so sick of like this for me.
Bro, we've only gone. This is like the third of like 84 coming. You know, you've had Rocket Man.
This has been a pretty steady. Like you get at least one a year where it's a biopic about a famous singer.
But it's coming through.
But this,
bro.
I mean, like with the success.
I guess
of
I'm thinking
Bohemian
like,
Rhapsody.
those are more band kind of
Yeah.
rock and roll as opposed to a singer. So yeah, okay, maybe we
This
can
weirdly
differentiate
enough
them.
looks like a little bit more of a character piece,
Yeah.
which normally would be a recipe for something that I'd be more interested in. This just,
yeah,
I don't have the patience for that.
nope.
Finally, we've got Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. This this movie always seems to be kind of coming out of the
Sorry.
background. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a thing. This is happening.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not fucking having this movie. Eh? This was one of the worst trailers I've ever seen. And they break into dialogue into a little bit of a scene halfway through this. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on right now?
It's not a great trailer.
It's a terrible trailer.
Yeah.
But I'm not the right person for this. I haven't seen the first. I'm not
I
into
have,
it.
and I was weirdly surprised, like pleasantly surprised by the first one.
But
you know.
you said as well though, where does the story go? Because we've kind of deconstructed that character and we said, hey, there's actually another side to the dark side, but
Yeah.
now
look,
where
I
do you
think
go?
The
What
only thing
can
that
this
really
add to the character?
the only thing that really interests me about this film is that the trailer is kind of deceiving the audience, and they give a lot of kind of nods and winks to that, but it doesn't quite do it for me. I might check it out on Netflix. This would be something that I'd check out on Netflix.
So what was good about that first one that you enjoyed?
I don't know. It was quite a while ago that I saw it, but it was one of the things was it was just in general it was just better quality film than I expected it to be.
Okay.
And that's a bit of a surprise. It was also an interesting kind of take on the overall story. Little bit of a change. So, you know, I figured that it was just I just remember being surprised when I saw it. I didn't expect it to be that good.
Yeah, nice one.
I don't know that I'd get the same kind of kick out of this one, but
Yeah, I like sometimes we review these trailers in the week and I'm like, how can this be somebody's job to do this like full time? Or how can this be a production company's job to do this full time? Because this is not up to the standard that a Disney trailer should be at.
yeah, I can my assumption with this is always that it's time and budget. Like it's a film that they're like, fuck, we've got like a week to get something out there, just whip it together and get it out there. And they're just not willing to spend the time or money on it.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, let's jump into question of the week. And for some reason, I've lost the name of the individual who has given us this week's question, which is really, really annoying.
It's weird.
I don't know if we can track this down.
Why don't you track it down? I'll read out the question.
Yeah.
It's not really a question, but I'll read that out and you go ahead and find it. This is a comment that said, coming from the Netherlands, I was laughing so hard. This is in relation to Spider-Man Far From Home. I was laughing so hard when I saw a sort of a famous Dutch actor / presenter as a soccer fan in the prison with Peter. But I live in a way bigger tulip field and also very close to the village. And then he goes on to say that the local market doesn't look anything like that. I laughed so hard again, as did the whole audience in the cinema. We do speak English quite well here, though. The question that kind of came up around this, George, that you had was seeing representations of maybe your nationality or something that you're quite close to, that you're intimate with, being portrayed on film. And just kind of, you know, in relation to me, I suppose, whenever I see a Canadian on film, or
Yes.
I suppose whenever you see someone from South Africa or England.
So I'm really sorry for whoever put this comment up. I've really messed this up. my bad. But I'm pretty sure it's the Dunsey Duke who's hit us up on Instagram as well. I'm pretty sure it's you, man. So, hey, thank you. But yeah, the reason why I want to bring this up is like, what is like for me, like seeing a South African or English or even an Aussie on screen, it's kind of like, it's always like this really good feeling when they nail it, and it doesn't happen very often.
Oh, like Tarantino, man. That's such a
Tarantino's the Aussie.
Yeah, that's such a bizarre thing to watch because
Yeah.
you're like, fuck, this is bad. What was the theory behind you becoming an Aussie on that?
And
Why did you do that? What was the purpose?
Yeah, and like, what about Canadians? Like, what's kind of the you guys love hockey, smoking weed, and skiing, like, and that's like it.
And we're super polite.
Super
Like,
polite.
I mean,
and you say A.
Out of all the stereotypes, for any country or group of
That's
people, or
pretty
something,
good.
it's just the. Oh my goodness, you're gonna call me too polite?
Yeah.
Oh no, like we've got it so easy as Canadians, honestly.
Yeah.
Fuck.
You're like better than America. Everyone likes you more.
I wouldn't say that we're better than America, but like people like us more.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that
Better.
Yeah. That's it kind of goes to like how fucking polite some Canadians are. If you say like, oh, you must hate America, right? Like, oh, they're dumb or mean or whatever it is. And a lot of Canadians would be like, no, they're really nice. Like, I know a bunch of Americans that are really great. Like, it's actually really hard to get them to say something bad about them. Because like, fuck. Which is legit though.
Yeah. And then Aussies.
Also, don't invade us, please.
Yeah. It's happening, bro.
Just really like eerily polite. It's just because we've
Please
got
don't.
like someone down south that if they decide to do it, fuck it. Who's gonna stop them?
Please don't, Aussies, like, I feel like Aussies always get portrayed as like drunks, hopping on the
when I lived in
kangaroo.
Canada, I figured that they were all just surfies. Like it was basically Chris Hemsworth,
Right.
that had a surfboard
Yeah.
that just like stared into the ocean.
Yeah.
That was my image of Aussies.
I just had this image of like our backyard. Like my parents. Okay, so how old were you when you moved here? You were 14.
This question has just become a
This is
thing
great.
about stereotypes.
I'm loving it. And we'll reference back to Holland as well because I've got my opinions about that. But you,
Sounds
how was
so dodgy.
How are you?
I'll give you what I think about
I'll
Holland.
give you my 2 cents.
Prepare yourself for the Netherlands.
Were you 14?
Sorry?
How old were you when you moved here?
I was 14 or 15.
Yeah, I was 11. And I remember so distinctly, like, my parents promised me a dog. We're going to have this fuck off backyard. I like had this image in my mind, like you look out and there's the outback and like,
Yeah.
like there's all these trees and like you can go out with the dog and, play with the frisbee. And then you come to Australia and it's like this little dinky little patch of grass. Our garden in London was bigger than the
It's
garden
honestly
here.
like any other city in America or London, except like slightly hotter and more cancerous. And I mean literally cancerous. It's just a big hole in the
Melanomas.
sky that just fucking shoots radio waves at you. It's not
Yeah.
how cancer works, but
Yeah.
okay.
And then
But I find like people get a bit it's weird in film because film is just exaggerated everything, right? Like it's not meant to be particularly accurate, and people are fine with it up until it's something that they own or that they know about, and then they're like, nah, fuck that movie because it didn't get my accent right, or it didn't get like when Canadians are portrayed in films and they're like that over exaggerated, like, oh, how do you go type shit. I'm like, fucking sweet, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, it's not a particularly harmful stereotype, so I don't give a shit. But what was one that I was watching something the other day and it kind of pissed me off. It was Shaggy was reviewing Jamaican accents in film. And
Shaggy.
and he was just tearing them all. He's like, that's not a correct Jamaican accent.
Is he Jamaican? Was he?
Apparently. I don't know why he was.
I always thought he put on that accent. Like, I don't know why.
I'm assuming he's Jamaican.
Okay, cool.
Or at least his background is Jamaican. But like the video was him critiquing Jamaican accents, and he was basically saying, no, that sounds like a Jamaican if they were like trying to make like that if they were trying to speak English. I'm like, that's what a fucking accent is. Like, how nitpicky are you gonna get? Like, it's speaking English, but with like the inflection of your natural language. Like, fuck. That'd be like, someone doing a
fucking
South
hilarious.
African accent, and you're like, that's shit because it's not actual Afrikaans.
Yeah.
No, it's someone that speaks Afrikaans that's speaking speaking English.
Yeah, fucking hell,
Fuck
man.
me.
Jesus.
Sorry, I don't know why that pissed me
so
off so
funny.
much. But like I find that if you see someone doing your accent or doing something that you know a lot about in films,
Totally.
then you're kind of like it's not meant to be spot on accurate. Like it's gonna be, unless you're Quentin Tarantino doing an Australian accent, because fuck that noise. That was terrible.
I remember I was always very impressed with Leonardo DiCaprio in Blood Diamond with his
You got a lot of
South
shit
African.
for that.
I always he didn't nail it, that's for sure. But I was like, that's not bad, man. Like, you've done pretty damn good. And that's
Fucking convinced me.
That is a fucking hard accent to nail, yeah.
Do you feel like you're putting on an accent? Like, you're not actually. Like, how long did you live in South Africa for?
Like combined, probably a year.
Yeah.
And that's like 6 months, like full living there, and then holidays.
Like, your parents are like actually South African. I'm not just saying that you're South African because you lived there for a year.
This is my land. I've been to Holland once. I'm Dutch.
That's what you're going to talk about.
Hoken in the koken.
Yeah.
That's the only Dutch I know, which means fucking in the kitchen.
What?
Yeah. Hoken in the koken. So for our Dutch fans, which we have a few, we definitely have a few. I've spoken to a few of you guys.
Well, they can understand us because their English
you
is so well.
critique me on my Dutch.
It's not, apparently.
Yeah. So then what's the final one? English. Yeah, English people, like very
You're the
return.
villains.
There's a
Always.
lot. Yeah, villains. Yeah. South Africans are normally villains as well. They're very villainous, yeah. I'm going to rip out your throat.
But they've got a good accent for it.
Yeah, they do.
Canadians don't make good villains.
No.
Like, oh, hey, how you going?
Yeah,
Fear me. Like, it's not quite
hey, can you get over there into that pit?
Yeah, we don't make good villains,
Yeah, no,
unfortunately, unless
no
it's
way.
like hockey movies. But even then,
Yeah.
we're gonna be violent, but we're like far too polite
Friendly
about the
violent,
violence.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, hockey, it's a strange sport, man.
Oh, I fucking love it.
One of my clients at work, sorry, this is
Are
devolving
we just
again.
shooting the shit now?
Yeah.
Sorry.
One of my
For
clients at
anyone
work,
that's
he's
actually-
Canadian.
For
and he-
anyone that wanted to talk about movies, that
Sorry.
part of the podcast is over. You can
fuck
turn
it.
it off
Okay,
now.
okay.
We're
I
just
was going to say how
talking about a
crazy
day.
ice hockey is, man. They're getting the craziest fights.
If you want to bring it back to movies, watch Goon.
Oh, yeah. That's the Sean William Scott one, right?
Yeah. Have you watched that?
No, fuck no.
Check it out. It's a weird movie. Like it's
I've got such a soft spot for that guy.
oh, you'd love it then. Because it's not a good film.
Yeah. I
By
wasn't-
by any stretch of the imagination. It's not a good film, but there is something so wonderfully, like, there's just heart to that film.
Is he a washed up hockey star? Like, what's the story? in
No,
that?
it's kind of based off a true story.
Yeah.
Kind of in the, I suppose you could call it the golden age of hockey. Like back in the day,
Yeah.
there were these like hockey players that were on the ice as
yeah.
enforcers.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're
yeah.
basically like, you take out one of our guys, we're gonna fuck up one
And then
of
they
your
get
guys.
into the fights.
Yeah,
And they basically grab the other one by the shoulder and just punch each other in
so
the
that
face.
that is what their job was. Like, you just had these fucking bruisers.
But that's being phased out, isn't it?
I mean, like, not the fighting.
They're
but
cleaning
just
up the sport a lot, I've heard. That's what
not
my
necessarily the
client told me.
Fighting, that kind of fighting. Yeah, like that. These people were, the stereotype is that they weren't great at hockey. They just found people that could fight and then
big-ass
put skates
motherfuckers.
on them, and they're
Yeah.
like, go. It's not actually terribly accurate, but that kind of style. Anyways, watch Goon. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I'm really liking this free form. Like, let's go wherever the fuck
we
we
need Ben
want.
here because,
Yeah.
we're not to be
That's
like we're
awesome.
just basically having a conversation.
Yeah, I love it, man. I think we should try and do some more stuff like that.
Oh no.
I'm keen. I'm keen as a motherfucker. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in this week. Benny won't be back next week, but we will have our Lion King review up next Tuesday. He's getting out of that one. And then
Lucky bastard.
weekly show is going to be kicked on to either early in the week or later in the week. We'll have a conversation about that at some point.
Yeah.
And
I feel like I should have been informed, but whatever.
about what?
When the weekly show is going to happen?
Well, we can't do it next Tuesday because we're going to
Again, we're
Lion
just
King.
shooting the shit. Let's bye, guys.
No, you got
This has
Folks,
gone to shit.
we'll finish this episode up.
No.
This is great. I'm loving this. Thank you, Connor. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, George.
Thank me, George. And see you guys next week. Goodbye.